Hey everyone, welcome in. My name is Angie Norris, and this will be a video that I am creating for both my YouTube page, which my YouTube page is entitled 60 and a Senior, and I'm also going to post it on my personal Facebook page and in my online book club on Facebook, which is entitled Always Booked Book Club. So I need your help, guys. I really do. I have a cousin, and his name is Bryan Avery. He lives outside of Anger. And 16 years ago, he published a book, and I'm going to show it to you. It is entitled Old Aversboro, Cape Fear River Town. Now, I know I have a lot of book-loving friends, and I'm going to post this on my YouTube page, which is a bookish YouTube page, and in my Facebook group. But it is very hard for an indie author sometimes to sell their books because they're not backed by a big publishing company. And 16 years ago, in 2010, my cousin Bryan had this book published by Aversboro Press, which is no longer in business. And I'm going to tell you what it's about in just a second, but he had some copies reprinted in earlier this year in anticipation of the nation's 250th anniversary. And the reason he did that is because this book, it's actually a trilogy. So this was the first book, and then he wrote two more. But this book is set in Revolutionary War times. Now, this book is a historical fiction. However, the historical facts in here and what the book is about is all factual and true. He did a tremendous amount of research. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit here. So the book is based on a town in North Carolina that was on the banks of the Cape Fear River. Now, you don't have to live in North Carolina to know that there's a river here called Cape Fear River if you've ever seen the movie Cape Fear. But we have a major river that flows through North Carolina that flows all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and it's entitled the Cape Fear River. Aversboro is no longer a town. It doesn't exist, but it was formed along the banks of the Cape Fear River. And one of the men who helped form this town is my cousin Bryan's it's his grandfather way back. I don't know how many. I'd have to ask him again. But they spelled their name with an A on the end. So it was Avera, A-V-E-R-A. And my cousin's last name now is Avery with a Y. But anyway, he did all this research. And so the history and what happened during the Revolutionary War in this part of the state in Harnett County is all true. But the story about the people in the book is fictional. So I actually found, it was on Goodreads, believe it or not, and I screenshotted the description. It's not very long, so just bear with me and let me read you what Goodreads description said about it. It says, once the third largest town on the Cape Fear River, Aversboro no longer exists. The town had its beginning in 1766, when William Avery came to the Cape Fear region from Johnston County and bought a grist mill. His brothers, Alexander, Henry, and Thomas was my cousin's grandfather way back. His brothers, Alexander, Henry, and Thomas, joined him just as the American Revolution began in North Carolina. This is a story about the violent history of the old North Carolina Cape Fear River town. When Thomas Avery, a 20-year-old patriotic, volunteer militiaman, finds himself thrust into the North Carolina Tory Wars after the Battle of Moores Creek. He becomes a callous individualist in the fight for American independence. Anna, his sweetheart, waits for Thomas to return from battle. They marry and work out a living together on a small farm just outside the town. Though Thomas is constantly sought by his Tory enemies, Anna stands beside him through his struggles. Old Aversboro is by design a descriptive picture of the life lived by the settlers of what is today Harnett County. It is a portrait of a free nation. National and state history are incorporated, along with the local history of Aversboro. The reader is able to put into chronological order the events that shaped the young nation that was destined to become the most powerful and influential in the world. So the book at the very beginning has a prologue or prologue, whatever you want to call it. And he just really talks about the Revolutionary War and how how America got involved in the Revolutionary War. And then the last few paragraphs, or the last couple of pages, are about how in Harnett County we stepped into the Revolutionary War. So he gives you all a little bit of that history, and then the first chapter begins with the actual fictional novel part. Now, why am I telling you about this? Well, for two things. I love historical fiction. My cousin is one of the smartest men that I know. He is a history buff, and he spends many hours promoting Harnett County history, trying to teach people about Harnett County history, and he does it with no money, with no pay. He had these books reprinted. He actually went through, I can't tell you the trouble that he went through to get them reprinted. He finally got Amazon to print them for him. Now, you cannot buy them from Amazon, but he can, because he bought them because they printed them for him. And they had to go through 3 different printings till they finally got it right. But he had purchased copies of them, and he has 30 left. 30. And I want to help him sell all 30 of these books. So, he's an indie author. I just really want to help him sell these books. They are $20 a piece. It is a 275, 76, something like that page paperback. Historical, local author. I would really love to sell them all for him. If you are local to me, then just comment on this video below. Say sold, or I want 1, or I want 2, or I want 5. You can buy as many as you want. And I'll bring them to you, or you can pick them up at my house. If you are not local and you need them shipped, what I am going to do is I am going to list them in my Pango Book storefront. And what Pango Books is a website and an app. And when you go to that storefront and purchase that book, it automatically calculates your shipping for you. And it's just really easy for me. And then I can ship it to you that way. So below this video, I'm going to put the Pango Book storefront link to this book. Or if you're local to me here outside of Fuquay Arena, North Carolina, or if you go to church with me, or you see me on a regular basis, then just comment sold and how many you want, and I will get them to you. I will deliver them to you if I need to. But I just would really love to sell this book out. And if you're watching this YouTube video and you don't live near me, like I said, click on the link and you can buy it from my Pango bookstore. So that's Old Aversboro. The second thing that let me show you the other 2 books. Now, these are not in reprint right now. The second book, let me make sure I got them in the right order here. Yes, was Old Aversboro Antebellum, and this was written during the time period between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. And then Old Aversboro Gray Tigers and Blue Devils, and this one was written about the Civil War. So, and you can see right there's a picture of my cousin Bryan on the back of this one. He's a Harnett County historian. It says Harnett County native Bryan Avery has written his second historical novel based on the written history and family love that traces the story of the ghost town of Aversboro. This particular story is set during the early days of our republic and follows the lives of the inhabitants of the town up to the opening scenes of the war between the states. So this is Antebellum, and then this one is written about the Civil War. But what I wanted to tell you as well, so like Bryan goes around and does all these demonstrations. So if you're not familiar, North Carolina is the Tar Heel state. That is our nickname. That is our state nickname. We have a university here. The University of North Carolina is the North Carolina Tar Heels. And my cousin Bryan, I'm trying to pull up his YouTube channel really quick to make sure that I don't give you the wrong name of it. But he has a YouTube channel where he does videos about the history of North Carolina and about the history of the longleaf pine and tar and making tar and pitch. And he goes around to these historical shows and these festivals, and he does an actual demonstration and shows you how in the old days, so to speak, we made in North Carolina, how we made tar and pitch. Hang on just a second. I'm going to put the video on pause for 1 second, and I'm going to be right back because I'm going to look up his YouTube channel. Okay, the name of his YouTube channel, and it may be backwards for you, maybe not, is Tar Heel History. And so there's several, you can go back on here and watch his videos. He shows you what a longleaf, the difference between a longleaf pine and a regular pine tree is, and he does demonstrations on those videos, but he does it in person at these different antique shows and things like that. And recently he was at one of these venues, and PBS, the PBS television channel, came down and they did filming of his demonstration. And that episode is going to be on the PBS channel here in North Carolina on Thursday night this week, which is July 30th, I think, yeah, July 30th at 8 p.m. on the PBS North Carolina TV channel. So I would love for you to watch him and support that as well. But what I really want you to do is buy his book. Let's support this indie author, get these last 30 books that he has sold, and hopefully if we have enough interest, he can then get these two reprinted and you can read the whole series. So if anybody has any questions, just drop me a comment, raise your hand, private message me, but please, please, please buy this book. Y'all have a great day.